So Baker Mayfield requested a trade. He wanted out of Cleveland. And when I look at his decision making this last summer, I felt like it was very brash and quite frankly immature.
So you're really going to sit here and say that?
I look at this Panthers team and I say to myself, Baker Mayfield chose Matt Rule, a sinking ship as his head coach, and Ben McAdoo. Ben McAdoo as his offensive coordinator, opposed to staying in Cleveland for a team where he knew Deshaun Watson would be suspended and the opportunity to start and play an elite offense would have
Why
given
would
him
he stay? Why would he stay?
because he's
Would
trying to
you
play for a
stay?
new contract.
Would you stay?
Yes, I would stay
You
because
stay
I'm trying to do
after
what's best for my
all the
career.
disrespect that they just gave you.
What
After you just
disrespect?
put, are you freaking kidding? Oh my God. Okay, let's count the ways. So after you, for this team that has been dreadful for the past 20 plus years, right? They haven't won a playoff game, I think, since 94, I believe it was. They had made the playoffs since 2008, if I'm not mistaken, or something like that. They were 0-16 when they drafted him.
115.
No, they won't. They're
They had
I'm
the
pretty sure.
first overall pick 2 straight years. The first year was where they took Myles Garrett. The second year is where they took him.
Okay, well, it doesn't matter. They were 1-32 or 31 in the last 2 years when Baker Mayfield took over, is my point. And in his rookie year, he's able to, I forget, what did he win? 7 of 8 games, if I'm not mistaken, or something like that. But Pro Football Focus ranked Baker's rookie year third best ever in the last 15 years and had 40 big time throws that ranked third that year. Then you the instability. Hugh Jackson gets fired after 4 games his rookie year. Greg Williams comes in. He's gone after the next season, which I always have said that's a stupid mistake. They made a terrible mistake getting rid of Greg Williams. Their defense has never looked as the same as it was then. Then they bring in who was it? What's
Freddie
his name?
Kitchens.
Freddie freaking Kitchens. Yeah, that guy. That was a blunder of the year. That year's out the window. Then they get Kevin Stefanski, if I'm not mistaken, right?
In 2020.
And this 2020. And this is where Baker goes on the run and they make the playoffs for the first time in over 10 years. And they win a playoff game in Pittsburgh, if I'm not mistaken, blowing the Pittsburgh Steelers out. Baker had a 90 QBR in that game. He went on an 11-game stretch in 2020. He had 20 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. And he was 8-3 in that record. Beat the Steelers, ranked 4th QB, best QB in that stretch. All right. Then they go on and they lose to who do they lose to after the Pittsburgh? Who do they go and
Chiefs.
face? The Chiefs. Okay. And then they lose to the Chiefs, which is fine because that's the Kansas City Chiefs. We're not going to spend too much time on that. Then we go to 2021, right? And if I'm not mistaken, it was in game 1 where Baker Mayfield throws an interception. And as Baker does, because this is the type of gamer he is, he's not going to give up on a play. If he messes up, he's going to go and try and hit the guy. You can call it stupid or whatever. That's just the way Baker's built, and he's going to do that. He did that last week against the the Arizona Cardinals when he played the Cardinals this last week. He tears his labrum and fractures his shoulder. Oh, in game 2. I'm sorry, not in game 1, in game 2. And he has to play with a harness throughout the rest of that season. Then off-season reports start coming out. Secret meetings are taken. Things are reported, and Baker finds out over social media and via text without finding out face to face with his front office and his team that drafted him number 1 overall. After one bad season where he was terribly injured and shouldn't even have been on the field. They kick him to the curb. They take secret meetings. They go after a guy that John has bashed publicly and privately very harshly. Okay, let's be very clear. Then they come out with statements. We need a more mature quarterback, like John just said, calling Baker immature, which is why I laughed and why that's one of the stupidest things you could have ever said, John. They want a more mature quarterback. They want an adult in the quarterback room. After they just go get a guy that had 25 sexual assault allegations on him at the time. Yeah. Okay. You want a mature guy in the room though, right? If we're going to be real, let's be real about it. Let's talk about it. You want a mature guy in the room. So you're going to call the guy who's brash, a little cocky, a little arrogant, talks his trash, immature, but this guy's mature. The guy with the 25 sexual assault allegations. That's okay. Okay, but then let's move on, right? So now John says I would have stayed. That's interesting because of after everything I just laid out for you, what Baker just did for Cleveland and how he got thrown to the side and basically thrown to the trash and said, we don't want you anymore because we believe we can go get somebody better. And that's fine. I'm not faulting them for that. If you believe that this guy's a better player, that's fine. Just don't come out with those stupid ass reports of you talking crap about your current quarterback, especially when you're looking to trade him. That kind of devalues the trade. That's just bad business. It's irresponsible and it's just bad business. So then we go, you want to stay. We all know this, and we all should know this. Baker, it was a game of chicken with Cleveland because they wanted to try and get the best trade for Baker, and teams were basically like, we're not trading for Baker because he had a $20 million cap hit that year, and they didn't want to trade for that, which is fine. That's good business. You know that Cleveland wants to move on from him. You know Baker wants to be out. So it's a waiting game at this point, waiting to cut him. Training camp comes, OTAs come, preseason is just about to start. Baker has to make a decision. He says, screw it. I'll take less money and I'll go to the team that's ranked on ESPN's rankings before the season 32nd in the league. I'll go there because I've always been an underdog. I was a walk-on freshman at Texas Tech, okay? Walked on at Oklahoma. I'll do this. Beats out Sam Darnold for the job. Starts the season through 2 weeks. I gave you guys this stat a couple weeks ago, I believe. I just want to say it again. The first 2 games where he lost to the Cleveland Browns and the New York Giants, NFL history and records were made that day, those 2 days. No team has ever lost back-to-back games on 56-plus yard field goals. Never. That happened. All right? So I don't understand, John, where you're coming from, where you say you should have stayed after all I laid out for you, where they just disrespected him, where you say he made a mistake when it was really the only option he could go to because Cleveland apparently wasn't going to. Yes, it was. If he would have waited, it would have been, week 2 in the preseason before he got cut. Now he's really starting behind the 8 ball on a new team.
You do recognize that he requested a trade before they went out and got Deshaun Watson. The reason why I'm laughing.
That's not true.
It is. The reason why I'm laughing, go do your research, check on Google, is because in spite of all of that you just laid out for me, it's much like when somebody does you wrong and then you look to retaliate by showing, oh, I can do this without you. But at the end of the day, Baker's best opportunity to win and more importantly, show himself for next season where he can kind of pick where he wants to go in free agency and he has more of a market was by sticking in Cleveland because the Browns have an elite rushing attack and without Baker have been winning with the backup in Jacoby Brissett. The Browns just lost to the Falcons on Sunday, 23-20. You can make the case right now, this team could be 4-0 with Baker Mayfield. Whereas Baker is in Carolina with, like I said before, a ship that is rapidly sinking. The Panthers have talent. DJ Moore is a really good receiver. Christian McCaffrey is an elite level running back on the field.
And nobody's questioning the talent. It's the coaching.
He chose not to stay in Cleveland, which would have been best for his market.
No, it wouldn't have.
Get paid.
It's toxic. You don't stay in a toxic relationship, John. Anything. You don't stay in a toxic relationship. It's bad for you and it's bad for the people. It's a toxic relationship. Why would you stay in a toxic environment?
It's a temporary environment for you to do what's best for your career, recognizing.
Yeah, but you can't blame him for the simple fact that, it was written on the walls that they didn't want it.
So
why would you want to be in a place where you're not wanted? So I won't fault Baker there, but also just touch on one thing. I don't know if this Browns team will be 4-0 with Baker Mayfield. I think Jacoby Brissett. I don't know how much different they are at this very point in time.
And that's the point. Look at how much better Jacoby Brissett looks in this offense compared to Miami last year. He's looking like a border like one of the best backups in the league, which
Mhm.
he has the capability to do, and that's because of how good this offense is. Amari Cooper, David Njoku, there's talent, and most importantly, like the best running back in football right now with a good offensive line, and a coach in Kevin Stefanski who's having a better season. The Browns are a good team. I mean, you could say to yourself, if Baker were to lead this team to 8 wins, they're 8-3 when Deshaun Watson comes back. Imagine how awkward that would make it for the Browns that you're winning with Baker and Deshaun, who hasn't played in almost 2 years, is going to be rusty. All of a sudden, Browns fans are saying, "No, let's keep Baker in there for the continuity. We're winning with him.
Look,
Why do you want to
nope.
shake
See,
it
now
up?"
now
And all
you're
of us,
even definitely more messing it up because now you're causing a QB controversy after you just paid a
exactly.
guy $250 million.
Isn't that great for Baker? Isn't that a great
It's
way to
not great
overcome
for the
adversity?
Browns. It's not great for the Browns.
But at this point, he's not even worried about the Browns. He's doing what's best for him, and in part, that's making the Browns look silly to really boost
No,
his
because
value around the
look
league.
what you're doing,
Because the
John.
perception of him now is,
Time out. You called the man immature at the start of this,
oh,
and you are
entirely.
literally laying out a plan of complete and utter immaturity.
How?
You just said, is it not best for Baker? Screw what the Browns think. I'm doing what's best for me. You're screwing over the Browns because now you're causing a QB controversy with a guy you just guaranteed $200+ million. Fans are going to be split. That's terrible for business. That's terrible for your team. That's terrible for your roster. That's terrible for chemistry, continuity.
But the team's winning
All
games.
all because of Baker. So you're literally laying out an immature plan for Baker, but you're calling the man immature because he left.
That plan isn't immature. That plan is the right football decision. And in
Okay.
part, it's looking out for yourself and doing what's best for your career. Yeah, he should look out for himself because these teams ain't loyal. And you said that all the time with the NBA. Your favorite player is
Yes.
Dwayne Wade. So, as an athlete, part of being selfish is making the right decision for your career. And for Baker, by leaving Cleveland for an incompetent franchise, next year he may be fighting for a starting job. And honestly, he may not get it just because of the choice he made to leave Cleveland, requesting a trade when the reality was that was a great team for him because of how little he was getting paid as a player in a rookie contract. They had put the offense in place. In
You see,
Carolina, he wasn't going to have that.
that's what we should be talking about. We shouldn't be talking about the past. Forget Cleveland. Forget Cleveland. Let's talk about the fact that he is this past Sunday. I'm sorry, Brandon, but your boy was absolutely awful. Awful. I don't know how many passes blocked,
9
batted
batted
passes.
balls.
Yeah,
9.
how many batted passes?
9.
9?
9.
Jesus Christ.
That's not on Baker, though.
Oh, I don't care if it's not on Baker. The guy looked terrible on Sunday.
All right, but you're
And I remember, granted, that this is going up against a defense that isn't great.
It's not. But again, I bring to you 9 batted balls. If 9 of them aren't batted down, think about how many more yards are left on the field and how better his stats would have looked and how better a game he would have played if they weren't batted down. They aren't his fault because if you listen to O-linemen will tell you it's our job to keep the hands down. We're not supposed to let that happen to our quarterback. This has never been a problem for Baker. Go back and look at all his years. It's never been this big of a problem. Maybe here and there they'll get batted down because he is 6 feet tall. It happened to Drew Brees, happened to Russell Wilson, happens to all the smaller quarterbacks. But it's never happened this egregiously. And it was happening a lot more on the right side. What is J.J. Watt's nickname?
JJ SWAT.
Okay, he might not be able to rush the passer anymore, but I damn think he can jump high enough to block a freaking pass with his 6'4" frame. All right, it happens. A lot of batted balls.
Okay, outside of the
He's got to
batted
play
balls,
better.
he
I'm not
didn't
going
look
to
good.
sit here and make excuses for Baker. He's got to play better.
And
He's missing throws that I've seen him make before. I don't know what's going on. I don't understand it because I've seen Baker make the throws he's made that he's missing, and I've seen him make tougher throws. I don't know what's going on. I can tell you that I don't believe in Matt Rule. I didn't before the season, and I don't now. Ben McAdoo is terrible. I don't know how he still has a job in the NFL after what he did for the New York Giants. He's got to play better.
The Carolina Panthers are in the bottom 3 ranked of NFL teams. They're in my bottom 3. And this is a team that you thought could make the playoffs.
I don't think they're in the bottom 3.
make the playoffs.
I don't think they're in the bottom 3 teams.
So with what you just said about their coaching, do you still have the Panthers making it as a
Well-
wildcard team?
So let's rattle off the teams, right? Bucks are lock, Packers lock, Rams are lock. I still have the Cowboys. So that's 4 right there, right? So we got 3 more spots.
How about we look at this? The Panthers' next 3 games are at versus the 49ers,
Toast.
the Rams,
Toast.
and the Buccaneers.
Burnt.
You play the Falcons, then the Bengals, then the Falcons, then the Ravens.
Toast. Toast. Toast.
You can make the case by the end of that stretch.
I'm not as confident as I was before the season, obviously.
Really?
But they're really, what do you mean really? They're 1-3. How am I gonna sit here and be more confident than I was before the season started where they were 0-0?
It's sarcastic.
There is a pathway. I'm not gonna say it's out of the realm of possibility as coming in 7th, getting that 7th spot. New Orleans has looked terrible. Besides their defense, they have looked not good. 49ers, listen, knock on wood, but you're, like I've said, the insurance policy needs an insurance policy. So that could happen at any point in time. Arizona, nobody's really high on Arizona. Vikings, we know what Kirk Cousins is. I hope John realizes what Kirk Cousins is and always has been, always will be.
Always been better than Baker.